Hi everyone, Kristina Werner here. Welcome to another video for SimonsStamp.com. Today I'm going to be showing you a few cards that I made using contents from the October 2021 card kit. But before I get to the card creation, I thought I would show you the contents of the card kit. So it comes in that awesome zippered mesh bag. There are 3 coloring cards from Susie Plantamura for all of you who love to color. There are 3 envelopes. There's 2 here that you can see on screen, an orange and a purple. I'll get to the third in a minute. You get a full stack of different colors of Simon cardstock that are cut to an A2 card front, a blending brush, and then this awesome embossing folder called Kaleidoscope. Can't wait to try that one out. Here's that third envelope. It's a holographic one with this kind of swirly design on it. You get the friend outline die. And then there are these 2 products that I designed for the card kit that go together. There's the Talk Bubbles Stencil and the So Talkative 6x8 stamp set. So before I move on and show you the last few things in the kit, I wanted to show you how these are sized perfect to go together. So the large Talk Bubbles are large enough to go around the larger greetings on the stamp set. The little hi friend can go right in that skinny one, and we're going to be using those 2 today. And then the last few items, you get 2 pieces of white cardstock and an 8.5 by 11 piece of that kaleidoscope kind of swirly wavy pattern. So I've created 3 card bases. These are all going to be single layer or 1 layer cards, and I'm going to do a bunch of ink blending and stamping. So I'm going to lay out this. This is actually the replacement mat that goes on the Tim Holtz glass media mat, but it has a kind of a stickiness on the back. So you don't have to have the Tim Holtz media mat to use it, and it's a great size to just pull out for blending. I've got 5 colors of Simons Stamp ink. I've got Hot Mama, Slate, Seafoam, Lime, I think it's Limelicious, and Peachy. And I'm going to start by using this tall talk bubble on the stencil. I'm going to kind of protect the areas around that shape by tearing off some wide Post-it tape. And I'm going to put 4 down, 1 for each side around this talk bubble, but I'm not going to be wasteful about it. I will be using the same Post-it strips for all 3 of my cards. All right, so now you can see I've got all those sides protected, and I'm going to go in and start doing some blending. I'm starting with the color Peachy, and I'm going to grab a blender brush. This is from Honeybee. Simons Stamp also has their own brand of blender brushes, but I have dedicated those to my oxide inks. And just a caution for all of you guys out there, if you have Tim Holtz oxide inks and you use a blending brush with it, you're going to need to either clean that brush very, very well before you move on to use it with other inks, or you need to have a dedicated set of blending brushes. So I have my Simon inks that are dedicated to my oxides, and then I have these Honeybee blender brushes that are dedicated to dye inks. So since these are dye inks, I'm using my Honeybee brushes. So I'm moving on to the color Hot Mama, and it's going to blend into the peachy color. I love this sort of red shade it makes in between. I think it's really, really pretty. You'll notice that I brought the peachy shade down halfway in that shape, almost a little far past halfway, and that helps me get a really good blend right through the middle here, having that large area of overlap. For the third color, I'm going to use Seafoam, so I'll switch to a different blending brush, and then I will just blend up from the bottom of this talk bubble shape. And it's going to blend into that purple, and I'll get another color in between those shades. So I'm going to get a really seamless blend as I go along here. I really think that sometimes when you don't have a seamless blend, you just haven't blended enough. So if your blends aren't looking seamless, go ahead and just keep blending, keep working it, keep putting that color down onto the paper, and eventually you'll get a really nice blend. So I'm peeling up this Post-it tape, and like I said before, I'm going to set it aside and use it on the other 2 cards as well. You'll see these Post-it tape pieces come back. So after I remove my stencil, I have this really great shape here, and I'm going to fold it up so I can kind of get an idea of what it looks like on the card front. And then I'm going to set this card front aside while I blend my other 2 card fronts. Now to clean this stencil, I used a paper towel and just wiped it off pretty firmly. And that cleans off enough of the ink that I can move on without having to take it to a sink and add any moisture to clean it off. For my second card, I'm only going to be using one shape on the stencil again. It's this long, skinny talk bubble. And I'm first going to blend it in the SEAFOAM color. Just blend that all the way across till I have a nice even color. And then I'm going to take off those Post-it tape strips, clean my stencil, and I'm going to switch to a different color and also change the orientation of my stencil. I'm actually going to flip the stencil over so that the little tail on the talk bubble is on the other side. So you'll see here, I'm just going to flip it over, and then I'm going to start blending down below the first talk bubble. I've changed my color to Hot Mama, blended that in, and that's going to be all the blending on this card. This is a very, very simple card, and it whips up really easy. All right, so we're going to go on to my third card design, and this one is all about the different colors of those talk bubbles. I'm first going to protect the back of my card base by putting some Post-it tape to the left of the fold. And then I'm bringing in Peachy, and I'm going to use one of the other talk bubble shapes and blend that on. I'm just going to be moving the stencil around my card, putting different shapes of these talk bubbles in different areas. I'm letting some of them overlap a little bit, like this skinny one is overlapping onto the peachy color. Just moving around my card base. I want a few overlap areas and a few that are all by themselves. Adding more of this kind of cloud shape stencil with that Hot Mama color. Going back to SEAFOAM for this talk bubble at the bottom. I'm going to finish it off with the tall, kind of skinny one in this green shade. All right, so the very last talk bubble I'm going to add is right in the center, and I'm switching to the color Slate, and this is going to cover all of those talk bubbles. I'm going to put quite a bit of ink down. I want a really solid gray talk bubble. That's because this is going to be the main focal area of my card design. I'm going to put the greeting right in the center of that gray talk bubble. So I have a really nice solid gray, and then I'm going to peel off that Post-it tape, and all of the blending for all three cards is now complete. And I can still use those Post-it tape strips on other projects in the future. I can just set them aside. So now I'm going to get into all my stamping. So here's that stamp set again that's called So Talkative. And I'm going to grab that greeting in the top left corner that has many, many lines of text, but it is rather skinny. In order to place it on my card design just perfectly, I'm using a transparency grid sheet, and I'm mostly using that to make sure that my type is on there perfectly level, and then I can pick up that transparency sheet and move it around and get it centered right on that talk bubble. Now, before I go to stamping this, I'm going to be doing some heat embossing, so I want to make sure that my talk bubble shape where I've added all that ink, I want to make sure that it's completely dry before I go in and stamp with my embossing ink. So I'm going to put down some anti-static powder, and then I'm going to give it a good test by sprinkling on some embossing powder. And this is going to show me if it's ready for stamping or if I need to dry it some more. So I'm using some alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and I'm just going to sprinkle on this embossing powder and see if it sticks. If it does, I can just dry it some more, but if not, I can move on. So as you can see, even when tapping with my finger, that embossing powder sticks. I'm using a clean brush just to brush that away, and I'm very grateful that I didn't stamp my greeting before testing it. I'm using my heat tool to kind of speed up the drying of these inks. The Simon inks dry back into the paper and smooth out, but because they have that feature, they do tend to stay a little bit moist longer than other dye inks. So I'm testing it again, and that embossing powder slides right off the surface of my card. So now I'm ready to stamp. I'm using some Versamark ink on my greeting, and I'm going to swing the door of my MISTI over and pretty gently press the stamp down onto my card front. I don't want to press too hard and kind of squish those stamps. Sometimes when you do that, it kind of balloons the letters and makes them a little bit thicker than they need to be. So just gentle fingertips is all you need. Sprinkled on that embossing powder and tapped it off, and that extra embossing powder just slides right off, and I'm left with a very dainty typographic greeting. So I used my heat tool to heat set that, and that pretty much finishes that card. I'm going to keep it very, very simple, just that talk bubble and the greeting right in the center. So we're going to go on to my second card now, and we're going to use that really colorful card front with the gray in the middle. I'm stamping this greeting on here. I really, really love this greeting. It says, "I'm so glad you exist." So many people that I could send this to. Sprinkling on that same embossing powder, tapping off the excess, using my brush to sweep off any embossing powder that might be sticking to outer areas, and then heat set that with my heat tool until it's smooth and melted. So there's my second card. And for this third card, it's even more simple. There's no embossing involved. I'm just going to be taking two different greetings from that stamp set and pairing them together. I thought these greetings were super fun. It says, "Friends are family that we choose." I think it's something like that. And then it says, "Hi, friend." So you can put these two together as sort of a primary and secondary greeting. Let's see. Friends are our chosen family. That's what it is. Friends are our chosen family. Hi, friend. I thought that was really cute. I stamped those in Versamark Onyx Black ink, which is a nice dark black ink that looks really, really great on this. All right, so those are the three cards that I have for you today, all using the October 2021 card kit. I didn't even touch 75% of this card kit. There are so many different things you can do with it. Make sure you head over to SimonsStamp.com to check out all the supplies that I used on the cards today, as well as that card kit. You can get just this card kit or subscribe to receive this card kit and other card kits in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in another video very soon.